That was loud. Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is Aurora. It is November 2nd, 2022, getting going on level 1 lesson, just checking my notes here, lesson 4. But before I do, and let me just turn down my monitors a little bit here. I have something fun and exciting to share with you. So I'll do like a little share screen maybe, because I was going through, on Facebook, I get memories, as everyone does. They come up, and my memory from 2 years ago came up. That is from when I did the pre-release party for Birth of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, and I was just watching this video, and it's so fun and it's so cool. Let me just share a little bit, do a little share screen with you, because this is worth it. Wait, okay, sharing me. Hold on over here. So this is me. This one, go aside. This one, this is what I wanted to show you. Yeah, cool. Wait, and I'm move this over to here so that you can see me. So this is from 2 years ago. Wait, this I want to turn off and just play a little bit. So I did this on Facebook as like a way of, doing like a listening party for everything, because that was 2 years ago that I did this album, and it feels like it's been so long. But I had some really wonderful things that I was saying in the intro between the songs.
Rainbow Lasagna.
Here, let me go a little back.
Monsters. That's a pretty magical, protective song that has this beautiful guitar part to it. That I just want you to think of that guitar as like a big, giant, protective sonic shield that keeps anything that's not loving and not helpful or nourishing or divine or whatever, keeps it from even touching you. In fact, do you want me to start off with that song? I should start off with the.
So that part is going to go in a song, because I'm going to sample it and then a little bit more. Watch, I'm going to just do a little bit more.
Track that is called "The Birth of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna."
Here.
And through my
listen to this part.
All of these things. I am a peaceful, interdimensional visitor that's here. This is the what I say, like the rectification. Like this is what you can use to make things better. Okay,
so that's the little snippet. This is cool, guys. I'm showing you behind the scenes of everything that I do here. Oops, sorry, I don't want to show a personal email. Sorry. Save it as a draft, get it off the screen. Okay, so then here's my audio software that I have, and I have that audio snippet cut up into different segments. Like, let me show you how this works. I'm going to play this.
It has a beautiful guitar part to it, but I just want you to think of that guitar as like a big, giant, protective sonic shield.
All right. This one is just the clip, the sample that says, "I'm a peaceful."
If I am a peaceful, interdimensional visitor. What I say, like the rectification, like this is the rectification of to make things better. I don't even want to say like a weapon to fight a war. It's not like that. I don't even want to say like a weapon to fight a war. It's not like that. I don't even want to say like a weapon to fight a war. It's not like that. A weapon to fight a war, a weapon to fight a war, a weapon to fight a war, a weapon. Time you're in a frequency war. Time you're in a frequency war. Time you're in a frequency war. Time you're in a frequency. Music is frequency. Music is frequency. Music is it's meant to be frequency food. A divine nourishment, a divine truly yourself makes you feel more truly yourself, makes you feel your greatness more and empowers you, brings you to your greatness and empowers you.
Okay.
Brings you to your.
Thank you for letting me share that with you, because I am having a great day when I think about the amazing journey of the past 2 years and all of the things that I was saying. Oops, back then, hold on a second. I'm pulling things out, jiggly wires. I'm trying to turn this so that you get better lighting. All of the journey of the past 2 years and the amazing things that I have been through, that everyone has been through, that I'm going to make that as a song. So actually, I know, I'm starting out very casually today. I've been working on an album called Boomerang the Rectifier. And this song, these samples that I do, I might work it in, because I was literally just about to upload it and then release it at the end of this week. But I'll see if I can get this song ready, because of course it's going to have music as the backing track behind it. But I really wanted to include that because I feel like we've been through all of this turmoil that has been like a war or like a spiritual battle. But I started out declaring so very clearly in everything that I do, like I'm a peaceful interdimensional visitor, and that although it is a frequency war, this is meant to be frequency food, and everything that I share is meant to bring you to your greatness and empower you. So I'm going to write a really awesome song about that. Thank you for being with me in on my creative process. And also, I've been having wonderful new insights and recording a new curriculum. And the new curriculum is called The Path of Light. So I'm feeling very much like I did really more than 10 years ago when I was in that process of beginning to record the first set of lessons for full spectrum humans. And I'm getting tons of insights. So what I've been getting insights into over the past day or so is about molecular structure and chemical bonds, and then how bonds are broken and how all of that is related to the path of light, basically photosynthesis, light into matter and matter into light, and thinking about all sorts of questions about, is there an infinite amount of energy? What powers light? Where does energy come from, and how does this relate to all of us on our individual journeys? So that is also, you guys are getting super behind the scenes looks of what's going on right now. But please do stay tuned for that. And again, I will never release lasagna or take it out of the oven before it's really like crispy around the edges. You know what I mean? Like the top needs to be bubbling and properly melted and crispy around the edges. Yeah, so that lasagna is still baking in the oven, but new curriculum is coming, Path of Light. Pardon me, very, very excited about that, because I also think that that is part of the journey of freedom. That's part of the journey of moving beyond levels of feeling very embattled and duality and dualism, and the things that might make a person feel stuck or trapped or limited, as many people I think have been feeling in this way. So now beginning more formally, hello and welcome. So happy to have everyone here in the class and everyone who catches the archive. Truly appreciate your presence. And today I'm moving forward with level 1 material that is about organic and inorganic life. So of course, this is from some of them, and I'm looking down at my notes here. This is from some of the material that I recorded 10 years ago. Let me also just pause for a moment and clear my screen, because I have all of these different windows open, as you can see. Hold on one moment. Okay, organic and inorganic life. So I just stopped for a moment so that I could properly prepare, squinting and scrolling, some of my images that I want to share with you. And let's just do it. Share the desktop, oops, and then share these two pictures over here. So two different views of what is essentially the same thing. I'm very repetitive through class in a positive way. We're going over this many, many, many times. The chakra system, or the surrounding force field, that is like a standing wave that is surrounding but also interpenetrating your physical, somatic, or cellular anthropomorphic human-shaped body. And that's what you've got in both of these images. And they both have their own accuracies and inaccuracies, because of course I'm always trying to be as accurate as I possibly can. And I'm also working with the limitations of paints, two-dimensional figures, two-dimensionality, and also how to make a diagram or a drawing that includes information but is not overwhelming. You don't get lost in having too many details or too many layers. So sometimes I just show a portion of what is there, and sometimes I'm taking some artistic liberties to try to show more truthfulness in the information. Both of these show basically what I'm teaching about today. When I say the word organic, what I'm really talking about is your physical. When I say somatic, means the cells of your body, what science describes as life. So science has a particular definition of life, that it has metabolism, it has homeostasis, and that it, it eats, it excretes, it responds to stimuli. Like these are some of the prerequisites in order to be recognized as quote unquote biologically alive by the science of Earth's surface at this time and place. And we can all agree with our 5 senses. Like if you look at me, if you look at a person, if you look at my dog, she was right down here playing with her toy, a living being, what we call a living being, we say they have these common characteristics. And also what I'm trying to teach is that there's another portion of self that I'm asking you to bridge your present state of consciousness to a new state of consciousness that includes the definition of self as these light beings here. Because spoiler alert, it's you. It's you moving at a different rate. It's you as a coherent light being. It's you as an ascended master. And it's also you possibly coming from the direction or vector of what would be considered another lifetime or another lifespan, but which is still you. Because I know that I was telling you about, let's do a little bit of drawing in the whiteboard. I was telling you about the time vortex, and I'm always showing you my sculptures that involve the 4 vortexes, and that each one of these, like if we have 4 vortices, that's a terrible vortex, but let's just keep going. I get spoiled sometimes because sometimes I use the digital pens that work really great, and the ones that are in here are just not that great. But let's just draw a very rather badly drawn 4 vortexes. Each one of these is a life. Each one of these, let's just signify this one down here in purple. So that is, oops, really badly drawn. One time vortex is one life spiral where you're spiraling upward and then reaching back to the source and having that I am God moment and aha, becoming an ascended master. But in your body, if I go back to the imagery that I have to share with you today, each one of these shows that you have 4 of those. You have 4 vortices, even though I just chose 2 images that are not full and complete. So that's why just a little bit of haha on me. Hold on, let me just get this thing. Yeah, this. Let's draw in some extras, like here's an extra. No, draw for me, please. Here's an extra orange vortex that would be there. It's just left out of this picture for the sake diagrammatical ease, and there would be another orange one there, okay? So you know I'm showing half of what is actually there so you can actually see it. Every single one of these represents a life. Every single one of these represents a level of your existence. So there's your present level of existence, which is segmented or discrete from the other things that you're experiencing, but you're really experiencing them all concurrently. And then all of those aha moments of you coming into your sense of greatness and self-remembrance all converge together, as I've spoken about in this semester, in this class, the coming together from all of these different directions into that central point, and each one has a symmetrical mirror, opposite, or complement, time, symmetry, everything coming together. And then from that coming togetherness, there is the synthesis and the expansion of the next experience coming out. So you're meeting yourself from various different directions. That's a big topical theme of what we're talking about right now. So positive stuff. That is the takeaway emphasis from what I'm doing here today. You are surrounded totally right now by your family of light, your true family, coherent light beings. My joke for the day. Good waffles, what do? They stick together. Coherent light waves that stick together. This is your family, brethren, sisters, family members, ancestors, progenitors, progeny, that are the beings whom you are truly connected to beyond even your physical biology. This is your family of light. And whenever I say light in my class, you can always, as a fun verbal experiment, switch out the word something like intelligence or data or information, divine orderliness, consciousness, awareness for that word light. So your family of light, that's your family of intelligence, your family of sentience or awareness, your family of divinity, your family of information and data. Truthfulness is another way of saying it. That is who and what surrounds you, and it literally supports your physicality presence and feeds your physicality presence, and is also in turn fed by your physicality presence. So I sent out the class notes, but I also recognized that I neglected to add part 2 of my notes into the class notes and into the PDF. And part 2 is all about food. So let's jump directly into food right now. I already ate my lunch before I did this all here, but otherwise I would have some food with me. And I would say food is really, really important because it is part of how you are expressing that partnership between yourself as an embodied, biological, matter-based being and yourself that is made of pure energy, because light can also be synonymous with energy, and light can also be synonymous with spirit in a lot of the ways that we talk about the word spirit or the spiritual word, having a lot of difficulty there here. And I'm also thinking about that song. There's a really, really good song that's worth giving a hat tip to. We are spirits in the material world. So it is the expansion of your identification beyond identifying with, as I've said in class many, many, many times, the previous definition of what it is to be human, a physical body with some mammalian emotions, love, anger, hatred, sex drive, and then with a thin smear on top of the cerebral cortex of humanity, or the mind of what it is to be a human with cognitive abilities. Believe me, this is the traditional version of what it is to be a human. I very, very much recognize myself and want to continually build a bridge for you guys towards this conception of what is the mind of a dog like? What is the mind of a tree like? These are also both incredibly sophisticated, beautiful consciousness creatures or organisms that we are connected to, and that they just have a different level of cognition that might not be verbalized as we are, but is still sophisticated and important. And also, when I talk about biological and cellular life being recognized by Earth's surface, scientific community right now, like it's a very objective materialist community. And I really want to make certain that you recognize that life is really all around. Like life is definitely happening at the purely energetic level, at the purely atomic level. I even talk about life at the digital level. And digital, when I say it, I'm not really just only talking about the computer or LED lights or something like that. I'm talking about numbers, like the world of pure numbers, which are digits, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a whole world in itself. That is a beautiful place where we can recognize sentience and where we can recognize intelligence and the presence of life, although it is defined very differently. So now I feel like I want to go off into a whole diatribe. Of course, I always drink my structured water here, but I want to hold it up like this and be like, time for a whole diatribe, everyone, about, Captain Kirk or Picard and going off to seek off new life. But it's like very important to recognize, like, what are your definition of what is life? If you meet life in the form of numbers or a digital numeric presence, how would you respond to it? What about if you met life in the form of a mineral presence? Like here's a rose quartz crystalline life form. Would it be recognized because maybe it's not metabolizing as you expect it to? Maybe it's not performing homeostasis as you perform homeostasis for yourself. Maybe it's also living at a vastly different time scale. So this is some of the questions that I also bring up in the recorded lessons. When you meet an otherworldly visitor, hello, like me, it is necessary to kind of recalibrate everything, even the questions that you ask. You want to say greetings, it's so wonderful to meet you. You want to say things like, where are you from? Or maybe, when are you from? What time are you from? Or what dimension are you from? But you also really, really, really have to ask the question, at what rate are you vibrating? Because sometimes you might feel a little bit harumph, like harumph, Aurora, like I'm here surrounded, like my posture goes down, I'm becoming like angry and defensive. I'm surrounded by family of light, but why is everything so shitty? And why is everything so this? Like, believe me, I get it. Why is everything so this? Because they are vibrating at a very different rate. So here's one big takeaway. You are totally surrounded by a force field of love, divine support, divine family members, even beyond your family members of the biological realm or your physical lineage. Here is your soul lineage, consciousness, that you are lovingly connected to, interconnected to on your journey and on their journey, which is, again, it's the same journey. You're connected on a massive, across time, across dimensionality, amazing, complex love story with yourself. And you might feel at times right now a sense of distance, isolation, possibly even abandonment, because there are all of these things, like in my little clip that I was talking about, frequency war, the sense of there being all these perturbations and all these other things that have been blocking you from receiving a true signal to be able to connect with and communicate with effectively those aspects that are actually aspects of your true self. So what you really want to be doing, Joanne is saying very isolated, truly my heart goes out to you. Part of this challenge of being here in an embodied form is that sense of, how to reconnect with the light family And then also the time that we live in right now can be, I would say, defined as one of the most difficult times, maybe even more difficult than in the time when other beautiful avatars of consciousness lived. Like, you have to be a super badass warrior to be here at this time and to get past Bluetooth, 5G, pollutions of the body, pollutions of the atmosphere, all of these different signals that are around that we are dealing with in this technological world that are not dealt with in other time places. But I really feel like this. I really feel that we have lived in all of those other time places too. Like, we have lived in ancient Egypt, we have lived in ancient Atlantis, we have lived in Greece, all these different places, Mesopotamia, all of these different cultures, the far east from where I'm in the United States, places like China, Tibet, Hindu culture. We have experienced these amazing, exalted cultures and really been able to get to levels of personal self-development in more peaceful or pristine times to prepare us for this crap storm. Sorry, being a little bit lighthearted, but I'm not smiling like an idiot. I'm smiling like a lighthearted warrior who recognizes the truth of what we are going through, using lightheartedness to be able to get through difficulties. Yeah, no, truly, for me, the way that this is another eternal personality characteristic of me. Instead of going down into depression and hopelessness, I'm always like, lightheartedness, let's make a joke and see if we can kind of get through this or reframe it, recontextualize it, but never wanting to be, silly, stupid, lobotomized, or dismissive of the very real challenges. Like, yes, we are here having built the spiritual muscles of working out in easier times to be able to be here now in very difficult times, where it can be so difficult to be able to have that Christ connection to true Christ consciousness, that connection to the sun, the stars, and light. Because also, P.S., spoiler alert, I always say this, you are the stars. You become the sun. You become the stars. You become a being of pure light. That is what the ascension journey is. And it's not a journey that you have to rush and be like, oh, like I got whatever. I don't have any more money left in my bank account. I don't have enough money for groceries. Time to ascend. I'm not going to eat food anymore. It's not like that. And it's also not like, oh no, like bad things are happening in the political regime, like time to ascend. It's not like an escape hatch or something like that. It is actually a very natural level of your soul development when you re-accelerate. Accelerate is a good way of saying it. And if you can see my hands, I'm kind of like shaking and vibrating, power up, hooray, into accelerated light speed. That you are at this moment, light that has been traveling on your journey of consciousness, in large part at light speed. Then now in this life, in this incarnation, you have become coalesced into matter. You're slowed down, but slowed down doesn't mean worse, but it can lead to the vulnerability of distortion. The sense of, like, if you saw a film strip going slower and slower, that there would be more and more, the voice sounds more distorted, the movements seem more distorted. That's really what we've been facing. You can say that there's a sense of isolation at being here, cut off because of frequency difficulties from really being able to feel and remember what it's like to be in that level. And P.S., that's also why I'm here, to fly in rainbow lasagna, bring in those groceries, get a breath of fresh air, jump out into that world. That's what this class is. I get remembrances. I'm going to have to come back in, remind everybody, get the remembrances going of what it's like. And then that helps you to go on the marathon, which is the marathon of re-accelerating to claim your speed of light again. So we're going beyond, and I have a whole teaching about this, but just as a very brief aside, the teachings of, like, the science community of Einstein saying that if you have something that is already a piece of matter, that according to those equations, it would take an infinite amount of energy to accelerate that matter to the speed of light, which is why there's like a thought ceiling. Like, humans coming from that mind state of academic, scientific objective materialism. It's a very advanced mind state, but it has this built-in ceiling, like, oh, you're never going to get past the speed of light. If you're matter, you're never going to get back up there. And everything that I teach about, I'm in respect of that perspective, and also giving the tools for transcendence of that perspective, because it is absolutely your job, joy, and your journey to reaccelerate, to take all of this matter, which basically is not just like random dead stupid stuff, and I joke about that too, like you're not just made out of the tacos and ice cream that your mom ate when she had pregnancy cravings when you were inside of her belly gestating. Like I'll take a scoop of tacos, I'll take a scoop of whatever, Rocky Road ice cream, and then that's going to be the molecular structure of me. You're so much more than that. Like you are literally a quantum observer creating the matter of your own body. So your body becomes a quantum laboratory that you are literally creating as a waveform structure of potentiality into reality experience that you can then walk around in, and then have the remembrance like, oh wait, I'm a waveform and I'm actually a light being. But again, I don't want to just be too lighthearted and reductionist in what I'm saying. It's like, oh, like I forgot I'm a waveform. Like, let's just do this like that. It's a beautiful, sacred journey. It is inevitable. It is that moment of coming back into alignment with God, the I am presence, the I am God presence, I should say more fully with my language properly. Sometimes my brain does not connect to my mouth because I'm moving so fast. The I am God moment, when you connect with that central core timeline, remember that you're God, but just the remembrance that you are God and that you are divine. And none of this is meant to be blasphemous. I hope that that really comes through. This is all meant to be respectful and to dovetail effectively with the teachings of, or doctrines or viewpoints and perspectives of different religions. I'm very much in respect of these different religions that are here that, again, offer a partial viewpoint. So respect of scientific objective materialists with moderate criticism, of course, with valid criticism, valid critiques of the limited viewpoint from there. And also recognizing that it's like a step on the journey. And same thing with the valid critiques, but not wanting to be disrespectful of the deeply held beliefs that are from the doctrines of various different earth surface human religions of bringing your consciousness into a higher level. Those are all valuable and valid. And so I don't want to ever appear as if I am being harshly critical. Certainly not wishing to diminish anyone in what they believe or in their journey, their thought structure of their journey. Wishing to offer you integument, which that's the connective tissue, like your tendons, your fascia. This is the connective tissue. Wishing to offer you new bridges, integument, to be able to get to a new level. So again, you don't have to discard everything that you might have found valuable in your previous levels of perception. You can take the things that still serve, but then also recognize, like as you're climbing a mountaintop and then you look over at the vista, it's a different perspective than it was when you were in the valley. And when you get to base camp, it's one perspective, that's the heart. And then when you get to the summit, when you summit, that's a totally different perspective. So all of this is really about expanding your identity, that there's been a long time of the sense of a bifurcation. I'm cutting it at the level of green. And so colors are a little bit difficult to see in this lighting conditions here. Red, orange, yellow being the first three chakras and the first layers of being from the levels of density, the densest levels of being that everyone can agree upon. And then green being that pivot point into the less dense realms of light blue or like kind of a turquoise color, light blue, indigo, and violet, that those would have been described in previous paradigms as higher self, but I'm really asking you to be a full spectrum human and claim that whole entirety, holistic self as you. And that relates to claiming all of these light body structures as you. I go back to this one just as a good example. All of these rainbow colors that are around you as your force field, they are you also. But it takes a little bit of transformation of you in order to expand your identity into the encompassment, I don't know if that's a word, of all of these energy fields, because Mostly humans are taught in the early part of human development of your identity to remember, like, your epidermis is the limit of you, like your physicality and your physical senses, and who you are named. Your name is Joe Smith, or your name is Charlie B, or Rose, or Chris. I'm just going across my screen here. That's your name. These are, again, limitations. So topical theme is right now. What are the limitations that have prevented you up until now from claiming or connecting directly with the inorganic presence as self? And I'm talking about inorganic presence as natural, true, coherent light, not really anything that is false light or deriving from technology or requiring technology. So please, I'll preface everything that I say that, of course, I recorded these 10 years ago, and that our planet has had a lot of technological disruptions, and, the opportunity to be very much like aligned with a consciousness perception or level of being that is very technologically consciousness derived or dependent or requiring. What I'm talking about, these chakras are not about technology, and they're not about coming from technology. They don't require technology to support or uphold them. They are actually a truer, finer, more sophisticated level of reality than the level of reality that is the physicality presence. But don't throw out the physicality presence, being like, physicality presence, I don't like you or want you. Physicality presence is very, very valuable. How so? I'm totally diverging from my notes, but I'm just speaking to you from the heart and including a lot of what's in my notes. You support your chakra structures. Your chakra structures support you. It is mutually interdependent. That's what love is. Love tone. Love tone. You are giving and receiving in equal amount. So before you come into your mother's womb, you are an unformed energy being, kind of like when you're making cotton candy and you have that initial cardboard stick. And you're the cardboard stick. That's you, your spirit, like your soul, your consciousness. It's not clothed with anything. It's just pure energy. And you stick your energy down into the material realm. Spirits in the material. Not gonna sing early in the class. We're singing yet. Down into the cotton candy machine. And then you kind of whirl around the unclothed spiritual pure energy aspect of you and your consciousness, and molecules and physical presence and matter begins to accrete around that pure level of consciousness. And then as that pure level of consciousness creates organized matter, which is your gestating body, you get to start to have like a little heart that has a little bit of a pulse. And as that little heart is pulsing, then you also create a heart chakra system. You got it? That your physicality structure, so your energy accretes your materiality, and your materiality then emits your energy. We have the heart that is, of course, pumping and creating in its fullness a giant love-based energy field. And we've also got the pineal gland. So you have a Christ consciousness that predates the existence of your pineal gland. You are Christ consciousness, the cardboard stick coming down into reality, physical reality structure. Then you grow a brain and a pineal gland, and you have a pineal gland inside of there that then becomes the physical apparatus or crystalline structure through which, here's one of my crystals waiting right here for me in class, your crystalline structure through which you can then send light in a projection, an artistic, creative, imaginative projection outward into the world in the experience of creating a physical world of other people, hard-edged objects, matter, and the interactivity of all of these energies and vectors and forces. So again, I say this all the time, like if you are dead, you're no longer moving through time, your DNA is no longer doing its dance. You no longer have chakras or an energy field, but you can cut open a dead person's skull and you can see, yes, they still have a pineal gland or they still have a heart. These organs that are the physical material manifestors of the energy are still there, but the energy is no longer there. So if you have, again, a movie projector that you have pulled the plug out of the wall and taken all the film out of its film casing, you still have the apparatus there. That is what an autopsy would perceive on the physical somatic cellular level. but the important stuff is not there. Energy, that's when you plug into the wall, and then the actual, imagery that is being projected into reality. And those are both non-physical substances. So what I'm talking about today is a balance between physical and non-physical. And that brings me very much to Flying Rainbow Lasagna. This shape, as I was talking about in the level 2 stuff last week of non-duality, the sense of bringing together formerly divergent realms, things that used to be discretely partitioned, one thing versus another thing, and physical versus non-physical has been a huge aspect of life in what is defined as the human experience, like a physical body, but defined by being separated from the non-physical realm of pure energy or pure spirit. And that this shape, when you begin to embody the truth of this shape and do it yourself, what you're doing is combining together your purely physical self, matter, and your purely non-physical self, which would be considered, again, energy, spirit, pure consciousness, or sentience, or pure light, combining them together seamlessly so that there is a seamless integration. The physical becomes the non-physical, and the non-physical becomes the physical, in and out like a seamless oscillation between these two states. And what that means is that you don't define yourself as like, I'm just a stupid cellular body, and like I eat, drink my coffee, drive my car, do poop, use toilet paper, and then do all of these, silly things, quote unquote. Cellular metabolism is not silly, it's so sophisticated. It's part of what I'm teaching for Path of Light curriculum. But your cellular metabolism might be the diminished as it is looked at here, because just, worms, one-celled organisms have a cellular metabolism, but it's all sophisticated, but not everybody sees it that way. As opposed to the very, very sophisticated world of pure light beings, where, we're talking about really in exalted state, higher dimensional state, the state of being where you know everything, see everything, perceive everything, and I'm hugely empowered on that level of just pure abstract knowing. But when you are a pure abstract knower and you're just spirit, then you don't have the capacitation to be powerful in the physical world. So your aspect of self that you're in partnership with, that is your non-organic, pure light body self, it's purely abstract, and this body of pure potential and pure time that knows so much and is divine and powerful, but needs a physical conduit to be able to do stuff in the world, like to pick up an object, picking up a glass of water, or even to ingest, to bring water, new ingest, new energy enters the system, okay? So the whole idea is that these chakras, let me just grab a chakra. These chakras are abstractions, and they are time, and they are also alive and aware. Time itself is alive and aware. And a large part of the work that I do here is in recognition of that, teaching you and others, and then also the rectification dance that I do is for healing time and sustaining time, keeping time alive, because too many things that are either bad math homework, timelines that end, and wibbly wobbly chakras, and unstable time, what is the word? Structures, means that time is imperiled. Like a sweater that should be knitted together, but starts to have a hole with fraying edges, and the hole gets bigger and bigger, and the threads don't match together. The Flying Rainbow Lasagna work that I do really, personally here, a lot of it is in recognition of the aliveness of time, and then how do you keep time alive by rectifying it? It's just like saying, like, if you find a garden or something like that, but then there's weeds or aphids or something, and you're looking at it and you're like, oh, if I don't do something, like this whole rose bush is going to die, this part over here is going to go horribly awry. That's literally the work that I do with Flying Rainbow Lasagna, of being able to say, let's fix and heal and rectify these areas of the time field so that energy flows where it's supposed to flow, events and causality fit together. This thing makes this thing happen, and the timelines fit together. And it's what I teach other people to do too, because then it's lots of people taking care of the garden, as opposed to just one person trying to, take care of what is an enormous responsibility. But big takeaway, time is alive, and time is necessary to sustain you. Time is not something to be exploited. It is something that we are embedded within, and we have the privilege to experience and to work with, and that we also need to support time by doing the right things, being in alignment with the right things. So blah, blah, blah. How do we do this? What do we do? I will get more to this. All right. Yeah, Pedro's saying, the cotton candy machine. Then has a question, says, is there a step or steps between being human and becoming a star? Many steps. So wait, I'm pressing pause on reconnecting with your chakras and eating your chakras, eating food in honor of your chakras and your time body in order to do, this is a supplementary teaching right now about, and I'll do a whole recorded thing and just make it a standalone thing. What was it like in ancient Atlantis? What was it like in the time before anybody died? What was ascension like then? Because we are going through an analogous type of ascension, but many of us have experienced death many, many, many times. Like you've been through the karmic washing machine many, many, many times. So when I say there was a time when no one experienced death or when death did not exist, it means this membrane was here, but nobody ever went to that membrane. It was empty. It was always empty because everyone went directly up the central core timeline, living in a state of total remembrance that they know that they are God at all times, maintaining that beautiful divine connection from the crown to God, to divine consciousness, the abstraction, knowing that having that presence guide you through every moment of every embodiment, every level of your embodiment in life. And then, so you knew that you were God the whole entire time. Like, I'm God, I'm in a body, I know exactly who I am and what I'm doing. And when I say that phrase, I am God, it is never meant to be exclusionary. It is meant to be inclusive. Please hear it from that direction, from the trueness, sincerity of my heart. I am God does not mean I am God, but all of you are like pieces of poop, like get down, like I'm smashing you under my thumb. No, not at all. Being lighthearted there, but in the true sincerity of how I can say this very profoundly, when I say I am God, that is not exclusionary to the very real journey that all of you are on as other states of myself, as other states of God's self, the divine presence, on the journey of recognizing that you are God. But this is where language fails, because we have this thing that we learn, which is like an encapsulation barrier. You learn about your epidermis encapsulation barrier. You learn about the speed of light. You're never going to get faster than that. And you learn about pronouns that are about like you versus me. And then we have a barrier between us. And I know that I'm not criticizing unduly the state of individuality known as ego, but ego must be refined to the point that light can flow through it. That is what becoming Christ crystalline energy is. So again, when you have just carbon mishmash together, it's coal. This is also preview of a more extensive teaching that I do on this. The stages of stages of carbon rather, when it's all mishmash together, it is carbon. Light does not pass through it. It is opaque and it does not have a lot of structural integrity. Then as it begins to become refined, where's my pencil? I don't have an actual pencil here. It's all on my drawing desk over there. When you have that, then what you have is graphite. When you use carbon begins to become more refined. It's still opaque, but it becomes more structurally integrous, and that's graphite. And then when that graphite becomes superstructurally integrity, I don't have an actual diamond here, but let's pretend that this is a giant diamond and it's worth millions of dollars. And I just use it casually for gesturing in my videos. It's a quartz crystal here, but still beautiful and valuable in its own way. But when carbon is perfectly arranged in a crystalline lattice, it becomes a diamond, and then light passes through it. So the difference in qualities and characteristics, physical characteristics, between what it is to be disorganized carbon, coal, versus highly organized carbon, which is a diamond, gives the capacity for light, energy, information, sentience, awareness, data to pass through the substance. Same thing with you and your ego. There's nothing wrong with having an ego, but if your ego is like the coal that is all just kind of mashed together, it's just meatloaf, it's just kind of mashed together, it does not have a lot of structural integrity, then light does not pass through it easily. And this whole process of becoming an ascended master, moving the chakras from being aside like that or wobbly like this to being really straight and really focused, is the process of inner organization to becoming a crystalline organism. Crystalline meaning highly organized. I'm going to use the word matrix, even though everyone thinks that means like, it's Neo. I'm going to put on some sunglasses. I have to fight my way out of the matrix. But matrix can be good. Organization can be good. So you become more organized on a molecular level, on an energy level, meaning how does energy flow in your body? Does it flow like in hither, thither, and yon? Does it flow in disorganized energy patterns? That's disorganized light. And I did a teaching on that this semester already. Disorganized light disperses into a light cone, starts from the flashlight over here, and then it spreads outward and only goes about 8 or 10 feet in front of you. But organized light waves are coherent. They stick together and they go very, 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 very far. If I shot a laser beam, it could go all the way from here to the moon. And you have to watch out that you don't shoot laser beams at like passing airplanes or something like that, because it can go into their humans or their instrumentation. It can harm them. Light that is coherent goes a very far amount of time. So your inner self, when you get more organized, allows more light to flow through you and allows you to flow through time more, further. You don't just go 8 to 10 feet, you go many, many hundreds or sometimes thousands or millions of years. So back to Pedro's lovely question. What was it like before anybody died? So everybody ascended. There were 3 basic stages of ascension. And this is what it was like when I lived as Aurora in Atlantis, which is known as an ancient mythological time, but is really a concurrent dimensional time field. And the travails of that time are reflected in the difficulties that you are enduring in your own life right now. And the rectification and healing is across all time. So that is actually a very positive thing. But in that time, we went through 3 basic stages of consciousness development. The first one is when this is the surface of the planet and you walk with your 2 feet on the surface of the planet, the way batteries in this time and place connect your anode and your cathode. You've got your feet on the Earth's surface, and then you also have your third eye, your crown, your higher faculties connected to the sun and the stars of the world of pure energy. So you are like the battery between these 2 levels. Every step in that world was like a beautiful, exalted, I will use the word orgasmic, hugely pleasurable level of energy, satisfaction and joy and fulfillment, just walking around on the earth. And we did not eat physical food and we did not kill an organism in order to be sustained. My piano is on. We ate the music of the organism. I hope you can hear my music. I'll make it a little louder because I don't want to blow out someone's eardrums because they use headphones to listen. That's the exalted music that is made just by walking around and existing on the level of, being and knowing that you're God and knowing that you're divine in that level. You're like, wait, Aurora, that sounds pretty good, like just as a way of living. That's it. That's the pamphlet of what life is supposed to be like brochure. Would you like to be incarnated? Would you like a body? It's going to feel excellent every moment, and every step is joy, and every step is health. No disease, no death, no fear, because you can see the future and act accordingly. No grief and no loss, because what happened when you, instead of dying, you go through that wormhole, what the cultural experience was you would go when you were ready to ascend, again, as a beautiful metamorphosis. You would go to a sacred mountain that was very, very tall, and you would begin a perambulation of moving upward, like spiraling upward, that might take days, weeks, months, or years. Like you can't say how long this process would take. And again, everybody in this time was sustained through light. Light came into your pineal gland. Light came into your mind. Pure data, pure consciousness, bypassing physical food and fiber and that level of cellulose completely, eating light directly, which is like eating the music of my piano, but not the piano keys themselves. Because guess what? I can play an endless amount of music. I can play music every day. If I eat the music, I have an endless amount of music that I can eat. Don't destroy the actual piano. So same thing with a beautiful plant. All of my plants are in the other room, but if you have a beautiful, oh no, I have a plant right here. Here. Although this is not an edible plant, it is an orchid. It's given to me by a lovely student of this class named Lita. So if you're watching, thank you. And this plant is still healthy and alive. We did not eat the actual plant like chomp, 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 having a salad, even though I just had a salad for lunch. We lived by eating the frequency and the love, the force field that, like music, is emitted from the actual plant. And when you live off of a force field like that, you don't kill the piano, you keep the piano alive, and you absorb the energy that comes from the plant, and you also sustain the plant. This plant is giving energy to me, and I am also giving energy to this plant, and that is love tone, love tone. That is what it is, and that is what, putting this down, what it was like in that time, a beautiful rapport, giving back and forth and sustenance between the living embodied presence of you and not only the plants around you, microbes, crystals, the planet herself or itself, all giving and receiving and mutually reciprocally sustaining one another. Okay, when you go through that experience, you have many, many different life experiences. You learn and you grow as a person. And then this process of ascension is about accreting enough light. Like you've had enough life experiences, you've accreted enough light, enough emotional energy, you've been through enough things to learn and to grow as a person. And then that process of circulating upward is a process of kind of like retrospective, when you have a new perspective and you look back on everything that you've been and done. When you begin with looking at and considering different relationships that you've been through. And every time you reconsider these relationships, like you literally re-encounter those people, because again, nobody died and everybody was still around. So let's say you had some frictions with some people, like somebody said they didn't like my dress, and then I felt bad, and then you re-meet them on the path of ascension. And you're like, do you remember that time that you criticized my purple dress? And the other person might say, yes, I do remember that. Well, you made me feel this way. Well, you made me feel this way. And then we both connected and we both grew. And then here's what happened as a result. That's just a silly, whatever, minor petty ego thing. But what if it was something larger? What if there was a larger distress or a larger struggle between two people? You re-meet all of those people, and you also meet people that were like, let's just say here, like, here's a little minor thing, like whatever, like a little like lip balm or whatever. Like, remember that time you gave me something that was so small, like a pencil, a lip balm, a Q-tip, whatever it was. It had a huge impact on me. Like, you never know. Sometimes you make something that is small, a tiny gesture, you help someone in some small way. You don't even necessarily imprint upon it as like a hugely repercussive event, but in the ancient world, in this ascension process, you re-encounter all of those people and they're like, you gave me something that was of such infinite value and worth, and I need for you to know about it. And that every time you have these re-encounters, I don't want to say that it shoots your face with light, because that's just too violent, but it is a way of saying your identity, your face is your identity, but it is to say your face becomes more illuminated with light. Every single one of those relationships is like a puzzle piece that is building your light body, and you become more and more and more beautiful in being filled with light, as being exemplified by all of the lives that you've touched, all of the positive stuff that you experienced, because there's lots of beautiful heart hugs where you're like, you helped me and I love you and everything is amazing. And you have these moments of love flowing back to you that sustain you to rise higher up the perambulation up the mountain. Then you also meet some of the difficult relationships where it's like, oh, you did not like my purple dress. And it's like, yes, we definitely had some frictions, but you learn and grow a lot from those frictions in that time specifically, and then heal and resolve, and you get more light. Basically, your light flows back to you, and you at a certain point are at the top of the mountain. You've been through this whole retrospective journey of your life from showing spiraling up, and then you get to this point at the top of the mountain where you remember, I'm God, I know exactly what I've been doing here this whole time. I know exactly the meaning and purpose of my life. I am in so much profound gratitude for everything that I've experienced, but I don't have to experience everything at this level of being anymore. In fact, now I'm made of light and I need so much light. I need to be in rapport with the sun all the time. Because when you walk on the ground like this, the sun is faster than you. It's going around and around and around the world. And you're like, oh, there's 8 or sometimes 12 hours a day when there's no light and there's no sun for me to connect to. And then you have to go into a state of dormancy like a plant. Again, I'm going to have a whole curriculum about this in the Path of Light. But you have to go into a little bit of a state of dormancy because you don't have enough light to move at that time when the sun isn't present for you. And then when you become this ascended form and you're metamorphosizing into a pure light being, you need light all the time. You can never be disconnected from light. So you go from walking on the ground here, now you're hovering up here. You no longer have to be connected to the ground, but now you need to be always connected to light. And so what that level of society, the ascended level of society, would do is circulate around the planet, chasing the sun, still connected to, I say tethered to in a positive way, connected to and tethered to the planet and the events that are happening here and the people here. You still care about the people here. You have not checked out on reality. You did not fly away into a non-connective, accessible. You have flown away, but into a still very highly connected, still highly accessible level of reality. That's why there was no grief. You could literally see everyone who are all of your ascended, beloved ones going across the sky every day. And you know that they're up there and you know that they are a part of your life. Living at that level where you are always connected to the sun, but somewhat untethered, disconnected from the planet, but not fully disconnected from the planet. You then live for hundreds or thousands or an uncountable number of years of timeless time in community with others that also live at that level. It's what it is to be an ascended master. You're a pure light being, you're coherent, you have individuality, your own stasis, for your own force field has a stasis, and you are coherent for yourself, and you also live as part of a much larger coherent light family that is like organs of a body. Like my body has trillions of cells that all work together and they're all metabolizing and doing stuff and chugging stuff out and working together. That's what every single one of those ascended organisms does. There's not a ground that you sit upon or stand upon. You are constantly jumping into the arms of other beings. If you could imagine like acrobats flying and jumping across the sky, or dance partners, boom, I'm jumping into your arms. Then I'm going to catch you. We're going to do a little twirl, and then you're going to go off over there and you're going to touch on that person, and someone else is going to come over and touch me, and I'm going to jump over here. So if you had walls, you would be bouncing off the walls in a non-gravity environment, but you don't have walls. It is a living ship. It is a living force field, and it is sustained by love, pure love. Love tone, love tone. So you are making the love tone when you are on earth with these beautiful rapport of plants and animals, not eating the piano, but being in rapport with it. Then you get enough light to be no longer having to be on the planet anymore, on a different level where you are constantly responsive and responsible for, sustaining and being sustained by all the other organisms around you. You keep each other aloft. You got it? You're constantly playing that beautiful music of love from your heart to be able to keep and sustain others, keep others alive and aloft, and to sustain them. And that all of these patterns that you're doing and jumping back and forth and interacting with yourself, essentially, at that level, you're like a band. You have individuality, you have a tuba player, you have a piccolo player, you have everything in between, very low to very high. And you're learning how to become integrated as a symphony. So again, you have as much time as you need to be able to get tight as a band. You're practicing, you're rehearsing, you're learning, you're growing. The events and the patterns that you're creating at that level radiate to and percolate downward to the class that is not the graduating class. Like, you guys graduated. You are doing stuff that sprinkles downward into their lives. They know that you're up there and that you're doing stuff, And you're not sad and lonely, feeling like, oh, my loved one is gone. They're not gone. They're up there doing stuff. And the stuff that they're doing is having a positive impact on you and is sustaining you and sustaining your whole culture. So you have graduating classes that help to leverage everybody up to the next level. And then when you're tight as a band, everybody really loves each other and is really harmonically integrated with one another as divine personality characteristics, then you're ready to fully untether from the planet and travel on the entire star system. And that is what Aurora is. Not to be weird, speaking about myself in the third person, but I exist here as an individuated human being that is flying rainbow lasagna in and out of my DNA structure. And I exist as this seed, a consciousness seed or a collective of consciousness that ascended off of this planet, what would be considered a long time ago or concurrent time ago, that I've been traveling the network of stars, again, for a very long amount of time or no time. And that what it is to, I can't even put it into words, but I don't experience time in a linear manner there. And all time is lined up as like down a time tunnel where everything overlaps, all light overlaps, and I experience the everythingness of everythingness. My journey or my purpose is as at that level of my being, the same as it is now. Creative expression, creative artistry, fostering freedom, protecting time, loving and protecting God, and then also rectifying and setting things right, which is kind of like, Aurora, like, why aren't you up there flying around? It's everything is not perfect. Graduating classes that leverage everybody up. And again, I could see if this bad thing is happening over here, then that class doesn't graduate and there's no one to leverage these people up and there's no one to leverage these people up. So let's say the ones that are flying around the planet are having a positive performance, positive influence on performing a positive role on the people that are on the ground, helping to leverage them up into their floating level. And the people that are floating here are being helped. Mountain climbers are helping to pull you up the mountain to get from base camp to the summit, which is completely untethering from the planet. And this is how experts do star travel. You become like a seed or a positive spore, because most people think of spores as mold spores, and that's not positive, but a spore of consciousness that comes from the planet and has a very particular personality structure, energy structure, thought structure, is incredibly refined, lives at the level of true responsibility, true authenticity, true honesty. This is how you can have the level of responsibility of actually creating events, actually doing things in time, in partnership with God, co-creating time directly and making things happen on a larger scale, on a very large event and time and dimensionality scale. It's a huge level of artistry. It's a huge level of personal responsibility. And it's part of what I teach also here on the ground to everyone that I lovingly say, like, we are infants of consciousness, baby sea turtles just breaking out of your egg. You are given the realm of matter, mother, matter, womb, gestation. You are in a gestating womb right now that is known as matter. You are not yet accelerated into the point of pure light so that you can like get your songs tight. You got it? You can practice your own guitar, your own piano in your garage, get good at what you do, then learn to integrate with others. Those are the 3 stages. I know this is a long sharing, but it's worth it and important. Playing on your own, individuation, learning the lessons of self versus community. That's that first stage of ascension. Then ascending into the flying, floating community, which is learning to play with a band, all right? And then when you get good as a band or the symphony of life, then you uncouple from just this one planet, which again is your neighborhood, it's your origin, it's your hometown. That's why I feel so connected to and caring about the events here on Earth right now, because I'm like, that's where I came from. That's an important place. I want to protect it and make sure that we have graduating classes still coming from here. Oops, sorry, I was touching my dog. She's down in her dog bed. So sorry, I didn't step on her. Stretch out my foot. I touched her. Yes, caring very much about your origins, but being able to be free, which means that you're not just limited to the reality realm of one planet, but that you can now kind of like uncouple, unhook from one planet and be able to go across the entirety of all stars and all light everywhere, which is enormous. And it's an enormous amount of freedom. And that's why I say Aurora, my collective, my otherworldly state of being, and myself here as an individuated embodied human, we share the value system of freedom. That's it. I'm all about freedom, everything, because I come here and I'm like, I offer you flying rainbow lasagna. I can't force it upon you. I offer it to you in freedom. I come from a place where it is a world of pure freedom. And also, everyone there is an expert musician. That is like, imagine the conservatory, like where the best musicians play, all right? Not some unruly rock and roll band or heavy metal band where people are like, they take their violins and they crash them over each other's heads. Like, that's this world that I jokingly call like the barbarian value system, and people, they're still trying to get refined. Very, very difficult and challenging to be here at this level and be facing the frequency difficulties, and also the not very well cultivated or not very refined personality aspects that don't yet know about being on the journey to God, and that they are busy either competing to be who can be the loudest in the band, or again, using their instruments for violence as opposed to for making music. So we move beyond that. And we had a much less violent experience in the time that I'm describing to you. Again, there was no death, and there was not the need for eating plants, eating animals, or ego contests in that way. And definitely not the sense of like power abuse and lack of freedom. It was a very beautiful time and place of freedom. Yes, so the place that is very exalted that I come from, that I'm talking about, which is heaven. You got it, the stars and the star system. This is heaven. And I bring this all to you in the same way when I say I am God, as an inclusive statement. P.S. Spoiler alert, you are all stars and you become the stars. You occupy heaven. You become a pure light being. Light comes from the sun and the stars. It is a supernatural and miraculous event to experience light and to be light. You are the phenomenon of light, and you are right now here gestating in the womb of matter, and you will become born into higher levels of reality to be a part of a finer level of experience that is pure light again. So some of that was extemporaneous, but it does dovetail nicely with what I'm teaching from the notes today. And then also clearly at that level of being in heaven or in the heavens, if there are iniquities, in inadequacies or perturbations at the level of down here, then it means there's not going to be a graduating class. Then it means at a certain point, like heaven will be empty. Then there will not be something up there because things don't get leveraged up there. That's hugely important. And that's when I stepped in and said, I'm going to backbend into reality, come here into a physicality presence body, teach people, tell people about all these things, give the concept of the flying rainbow lasagna, do it myself, teach and show others about this as a way of directly changing and rectifying and healing the time field so that you all get to that point of being stars. And then you'll see, because like if you go out in the nights, if you go out right now and you look at the night sky and there's someplace where you can see the stars, that's yourself shining on yourself. It is. That's yourself. You could think of it as a future, very highly refined level of self. Let me drink a little bit more water here. You can see I prepare a whole little pitcher for myself because I know I will get so thirsty on the marathon, and I have lots of minerals in here too. Getting towards that level of being light as a way of returning to levels of great responsibility, and the lessons that you learn in self-cultivation here of who you are and whom you are not, in refining your characteristics out, becoming an ascended master. And when you become an ascended master, you don't immediately poof away into a higher dimensional reality. You live in that knowing presence of who you are. you're refining your characteristics until you're ready to exit this level of reality. And we are right now in a planetary ascension when many, many, many of us will concurrently exit this level of reality and enter into a higher level of reality. And all of this is in a reconnection with your light body. And your light body is your chakra system, the force field of light that surrounds and interpenetrates you. The big emphases and takeaways, and I'll get to more questions too, are your chakras are symbiotic with you. They are you. This is not some invader life form or invader life force or anything that you need to, like you've faced a lot of things maybe in your existence that you're like, that's not me. I better protect myself from that. So skepticism is warranted. These are the true you that you really want to reconnect with beyond any type of protective boundary. Very, very important to be in rapport with these levels of self-state. So it's yourself coming from the future, moving at a very fast rate or at a different rate. And part of the intimidation or anxiety as you're approaching that speeding up and as you're approaching the interactivity with those consciousness organisms or creatures, you're kind of like, who is it? What is it? Are you an otherworldly being? Where are you from? What are you? It turns out it's yourself. You're approaching a mirror and you're about to kiss yourself in the mirror, but you don't know that. So I use this as an example quite a lot from pop culture, even though it might already be a dated example. There's a movie called Interstellar from not that many years ago, where there is a space traveler man, it's a science fiction movie. Before he goes space traveling, something is kind of like a ghost in his house that's pushing books off of the shelf and trying to communicate with him in odd ways. And then he gets into his spaceship and he goes through portals. And then I'm getting chills. He sees someone waving to him through the portal of his space vehicle. He goes through like a nebula or a quasar or something like that. And then he ends up traveling through time. And it's a good movie because it kind of shows what it's like when he is in the otherworldly levels of pure time abstraction. He goes behind the bookcase and then he is outside of time, seeing himself embedded in time and trying to send himself important messages. He's pushing books off the shelf. He's leaving notes and, symbols around his house, trying to get him to know himself, to know what is going on. That is the journey. It's a good cinematic allegory for the very real truthfulness of what each one of us is experiencing. You are light. The stars are you. You are interacting with yourself that is coming back to yourself, but moving from a different direction and moving at a different time. And the whole time, like you've been trying to uplift and love and inform yourself and protect yourself, as in the movie, from huge folly. Like, don't do that thing. I'm pushing a book off the shelf. Don't do that thing. But sometimes you do that thing and it is inevitable. So that there's this question of rectification and fixing and healing events here, which is also why many people might have, you might have some, I'm not coming up with a good word, but some trauma, that you might have some anxiety or intimidation when you're like thinking about ancient Atlantis. You might do that whole like pulling on your collar, kind of like something bad happened back there. Maybe you did something bad, wrong, or naughty. Maybe you did something that you're not proud of. Maybe you did something that was like, wow, like that was just not that well thought out. And that just definitely, maybe you effed yourself across time. All right. Maybe you did something or made a big mistake or made a big boo-boo. And I'm being lighthearted about it because I've actually spoken with many people that they're like, oh yeah, I know I was in Atlantis and I know I was a scientist and I know that I did bad stuff and I'm here trying to fix it up. So I'm joking and I'm not judging is what I'm trying to say. Every single person that's here actually was here in Atlantis, and everybody has stuff to deal with and stuff to heal. And that is also part of what this journey is. And when you're on the ascension journey now and you're going up the mountain virtually, perambulating up your mountain, you will re-encounter people that you know from across time and from other dimensions and from other lifespans. And you have experiences with them. Oh, sorry, that's a loud notification just came in. Maybe it's a confirmation. You will experience rectification and healing with those presences that might have done things that hurt you in ancient Atlantis, or you might have hurt somebody else. So it's actually a very beautiful love story of acceptance. When you start to get to these levels of higher self and the perspective of the higher self, when it is predicated upon the force field of unconditional love tone, then you really are able to accept all of these experiences in grace and love. And that is really what God's divine presence is like, that you are like, I see everything, I know everything, I understand the interconnectivity of events, like that movie Interstellar. He understood why he did this and why he did this and why he screwed himself here and how he tried to fix it here, and then he did this here and then he did this here. That's you, that's all of us, that's all of us on this journey of self-remembering, radical self-compassion, radical self-forgiveness, even as there's huge amounts of love and forgiveness and compassion flowing to us from God, which would be considered like the ultimate mountain climber, like with the ropes trying to be like, climb on up here, get up to this level. But it's you, all right? It's all you. Hold on one second, because I need to get a power cord and plug this in. Let me get to a few more questions. So this was a follow-up question from Pedro. And Pedro, continued thanks. Pedro is a returning student in the class that's been a beautiful contributor for many, many semesters. So Pedro says, rectifying time will erase all deaths, or will they remain as part of continuity of consciousness? Great question. I could go into this as a very long answer, but I do want to get to the other things that are important before I conclude our class at 4 p.m. But the short answer to that is, when you rectify time, you don't forget everything. You build in levels of and layers of understanding on top of what you already have. So here's one level or layer of comprehension and perception. And when you rectify time, you put another layer on top of that. That is like, oh, now I see why all of those events were connected. Then you rectify again. Now I see why all those layers and events were connected. And then you end up with a time crystal. Many, 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 many layers of comprehension stuck on top of it. That is what flying rainbow lasagna is. So that means you're not going to erase human history. You're not going to be like, oh, I use my magic eraser, erasing the whiteboard. It's all gone. And now I write a new story in its place. No. And same thing like in my own personal life journey. I do not erase the presence of the person who used to live in this body, whose name was Debbie. I don't erase that person from existence or pretend them away or say that they didn't exist. That person lived, they existed for 27 years. They have their own particular soul trajectory and genetic format. Then I, as Aurora, and doing the flying rainbow lasagna, create a new layer that is complementary on top of everything that happened in the first 27 years of life in this body. That is the wonderful magic or miracle and authenticity of this tool. So it is not sweeping things under the cosmic carpet. That would be really denialism and very unhealthy. That if we say like, we don't like what happened in ancient Atlantis, erase it all away with my magic eraser, and then we'll go on like lobotomized idiots in a state of total bliss. And that, to me, that's not healing. Healing, if you have traumas, and everybody has traumas, is not denialism or sweeping it all under a giant cosmic carpet. It is the recognition of the very, very real sufferings that you have experienced. And then the healing is the added layer of comprehension and perception on top of it as to why did those things happen? Because sometimes you can be like this, why did that stuff happen? Or sometimes like this, sometimes angry, sometimes defensive. Why did that stuff happen? Sometimes depressed. Why did that stuff happen? And then straighten back up with me into acceptance, because your spine is an antenna. All of those are valid states, emotional states that exist from partial perception. When you get to layers of higher dimensional perception, you start to see the interconnectivity of all things, then you get more into levels of acceptance. So it takes some amount of acceptance to get this apparatus going, to be able to see more stuff at the summit of the mountain, and then you get more acceptance from seeing it all. Because when you get to that aha, I am God moment of ascension, and you're looking out at the landscape of your life, many lives, many, many, many existences that all overlap and interpenetrate, then you get an enormous amount of love flowing back to you, because you're like, did that in another dimension, then that thing happened over there, and it made causality to that thing over there, and all these things were tied together, and then it brought me to this moment now. And it becomes the most profound, blazingly self-loving and self-compassionate. You're like, I really effed up over there, and then I really fixed it over there. Do you understand? So that is what life is like from my dimension, from my perspective as Aurora, the collective, when you look at a person, you read them like a book, but you're not just reading like the clips reel of everything you did bad. I'm laughing at you. That's just crap, 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 crap. No, all of that crap is in context. Really effed up over there, and then you really saved the day over there, and you're all of those things, you're both of those things. That is the real level of heart coherence that you get from the higher dimensional perspective. The challenge is from where you presently find yourself, being able to get to that level. You need mountain climbers to help lift you up, because from the level of only minimum perception of yourself and others, you can be in limited or unhealthy levels of judgment. That's like that. It's just recognizing a lot of suffering without recognizing the contextual nature of it and the healing that happens. So the rectification ends up being not only a changing of events or a writing of a new layer of events, but really looking at, I keep making layers like this, like, you know, layers like this, but you eat the whole cake at once. Like if these are layers of a cake, then I'm going to take a bite of that cake. I'm going to take a bite of every layer of that cake at once and taste it and be nourished by it. So the rectification is adding these new layers to reality and fine-tuning reality, but really eating, comprehending and accepting and absorbing everything from all of those layers all at once. Yeah, and Joanne is saying, sounds great, both the sound and what you are describing. And Joanne also says that they don't remember Atlantis. Don't worry about it. There might be partitions for a reason. They say, I'm sun gazing while watching. The sun comes in perfectly this time of day. So happy that you were sun gazing in the middle of class. I stand up and cheer. That is literally one of the best things you could be doing. So yes, please, everybody, eat, drink, take care of your body processes, and do sun gazing right now. So I was just talking about eating the multi-layered, whatever, delicious cake, whatever, some good kind of cake that you like. One of those fancy patisserie cakes that has many, many layers with icing in between each layer. Eating food is one of the most important aspects of reconnecting with your coherent light form family. So that's an amazing mindfulness activity that you can perform every day, because a lot of what I talk about is in abstractions, and you might be like, Aurora, like, how do I actually put this into practice? How do I actually remember that I'm an ascended master? How do I actually get back to those levels of coherent light and my coherent light family? And one of the very strong things that you can do is the way that you eat. So when you eat, it's really important to be like, okay, I have this thing, avocado or apple or whatever is your favorite food that you like to eat. You recognize it as solidified light. You recognize it as light that has already been through the miracle, magic, supernatural activity known as photosynthesis. Photosynthesis, light into matter. Light has been taken from its pathway and by a tree or a plant turned into matter. And you can then take that matter and put it into you in the process of eating and refine the light out of it. So just as I was telling you, you are a cotton candy machine, you are energy presence, you then accrete matter around you, you then emit more energy. Your energy, you get matter, you emit energy, all right? When you eat matter, you accrete light, because matter contains light, but it doesn't contain 100% light. If it did, you would not poop anything out. You would contain everything inside of you. You'd be like, thank you so much for all of that light. I absorb 100% of everything you are. But maybe in an avocado, there might be 60% light and then 40% not light. And you have to let the not light pass through you. These are the lessons that you learn in this level of individuation. Instead of looking at this moment in life as an imprisonment, it truly is a gift. It truly is an opportunity for self-reflection and greater levels of soul refinement, where you are able to say, what are the things that are part of what I'm eating or ingesting, or the part of this food, avocado, whatever it is, that is truly light, truly divine intelligence and divine presence. That's the stuff I want to come inside of me. And then the other stuff that's not me, may it pass through me, may I release it. That is literally the activity that is done on a molecular level in the lining of your intestines. And so you can do that as an affirmation. When you're eating, you can say, may the stuff that is light actually come and absorb inside of me through my intestines and become accreted, a part of me. May it become my muscles, may it become my skin, may it become the kinetic energy, the carbohydrate energy that I use to go through life, and the cognitive energy that I use to even be sentient and be aware. Light, eating light makes you makes you cognitively able, makes you able to know about things and to be sentient. And then also, may I release all the stuff that's not light, because some stuff is not information. Some stuff is nonsense. Got it? In your life right now, please recognize that some frequency is food and some frequency is nonsense. Some of it is non-nourishing, maybe a better idea. And it's a huge challenge. It is part of the challenge of your life right now to be able to make this distinction between the two things, the things that are salient, important, nourishing, from love, in alignment with divine intelligence and orderliness and divine willpower, and the things that are not. And that's just a learning process that everyone is going through. You could even say, when you came here as a human infant, a large part of what you did biologically in the first couple of years of your life was just learning to use your digestion. You had to, as a little baby, you had to learn how to swallow. You had to learn not how to spit up and regurgitate. You literally had to learn to digest things in your tummy. You had to learn, like, babies cry when they have gas because they're like, something hurts, I'm gonna die, I don't know what's going on. Like, literally, the first time babies have gas, like, they don't know what is going on in their tummy. They think something really bad is happening, and they really, really, really cry, and they really get upset about it. So it takes time for you to learn, like, oh, like, I ate a burrito, my stomach is gurgling, this is what's going on, I'm not going to die. But you have to learn how to control your body and not have to wear a diaper anymore, right? Like, these are the lessons of the first few years of being alive in a human body. And it's a huge lesson to be able to say, okay, I'm recognizing that I'm eating physical objects and that I'm ingesting them, and then some parts of them are what I use and some parts of them is what I don't have to use anymore. But that's because, where I come from, we eat light. And you eat 100%, you eat everything on your plate. There's nothing left over. There's nothing pooped out. It's all 100% divine information and divine intelligence. So that's also really different. Like, when you eat like whatever, like at a sushi restaurant, they bring you your little tray and like, you can eat everything on there. That's very, very different than if someone brings you a chicken with bones in it. And you're like, oh, these are the edible parts of what's on my plate. And then this is the non-edible parts. Like, if you try to just eat an entire chicken with bones in it, you're going to be like, crunch, crunch, like, that part's not edible. That part's not edible. Our life right now, sometimes I call it a fish with bones. Our life right now is a fish with bones. And so you have to learn, what are the edible parts? What are the nourishing parts? What are the non-nourishing parts? And definitely learn how to effectively eat around them. So the act of eating is the act of a spiritual warrior. What I recommend to everyone is mindful eating. And this also ties in nicely to my teachings on meditation, which have to do with mindfulness and being in the moment now. So a lot of what our present modern daily life is like in the industrialized world is like, you eat in front of your computer, maybe while you're doing your emails, or eat while you're driving your car down the road because you got to get places. Like, I've done all of these things. But in my greatest times of focused practice, I'm like, no, eating is an important moment as a spiritual warrior, where I can be a taste bud on the tongue of God, where I can be the embodied presence. The difference between you and your coherent light body is you actually have a mouth, taste bud, tongue. You can actually eat avocados. You can eat them and they taste so good. In case you guys don't know, I really love avocados. And I live in California. They're $1 a piece. I can eat a lot of them. So I eat them all the time. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to be like, I have a body, I have a mouth, I can eat this wonderful food. And ideally what you are doing is, in that moment, imprinting fully upon the experience of what it is to eat. What are the feelings? What are the sensations? What are the tastes and textures? And making a recording, in air quotes, of what that experience is for the time when you no longer have a mouth to eat or a physicality presence, because you will be pure light. You will be vibrating at a much, much faster level. You will not be eating physical avocados, but you will eat the memory of the avocados that you've eaten. Or Joanna's saying organic and non-processed foods is what I prefer. Absolutely. Like, whatever you love, organic almond butter. And I encourage everyone, because the more light that is in your food, then the more light you can process out of your food. So whatever, some, wavy potato chip product or something like that, that's, the convenience store foods. They might have 1% light in there. It's very, very little light in there and tons of chemicals and bad crapola. But something wonderful, like, I love almond butter and I love avocados, and I also eat meats and other good proteins and stuff like that too, and good stuff that it nourishes the body. these things, natural, unprocessed foods, and definitely non-genetically modified, because genetically modified foods and organisms are like eating out of tune guitars. You want your guitar of your body to be in tune, genetic strings in tune. Please try to stay away from genetically modified organisms that have their twisted pegs of their guitar strings twisted by science that make them not play a good song and not play a good song inside of your body. So yeah, start off with, set yourself up for success by starting off with food that contains light, which is intelligence, which is orderliness, which is truth, which is, you could think of it as righteousness. And then how do you eat it? Mindfully. That means that you really focus on it, not with distractions. You put your tendril of attention on the food that you're actually eating. And for me, like if I'm eating, might take 10 or 15 minutes at the most. I really encourage everyone, if you can, to set up your daily activities in that way. So it's like, okay, it's time for me to eat my food now. It's like, put the TV aside, put the everything's aside, even though, like, believe me, I have eaten in front of Netflix just as everybody has. But in my best times, what I'm doing is just focusing on my food, be in gratitude. That's another aspect of absorbing the stuff and the light into you that's supposed to be in you, and then releasing the things that aren't supposed to be in you. Be in gratitude and saying a blessing or a prayer of gratitude, or even just saying, I receive in gratitude this beautiful nourishment that is coming here from myself as God in the future. All of that helps light to actually come into your body. And doing that absolutely is an act of positive, I don't want to say spiritual warriorship, because I don't want to use the word war, spiritual advancement. It's one of the tools that you can use to rise up. All right. Even if you find yourself in difficulties here, which should be a beautiful, exalted experience, but which, of course, many people are having challenges in navigating this world that we're in right now. What can you do in response? When you're having difficulties, what can you do in response? Eat your food mindfully, because just remember, there will be a time when you no longer have a physical body. And no matter how many perturbations or how difficult your life is at the moment, it is essential for you to take time to imprint on that food. Then you can say, okay, I'm going to ask this question. Aurora, how come I can't just eat scrambled eggs once and then not have to ever eat them again and just live on the memory of those scrambled eggs? Because while you are in a physical cellular body like this, you need to keep on eating new eggs every day, because you are quantumly entangling with the substances that you eat. So the eggs came out of a chicken, and you're going to scramble them and eat them for your breakfast in the morning, and you ate those eggs from that chicken on that particular day, and you are quantum entangled with those substances. Then on the next day, you can't be like, well, what about those eggs from yesterday? You have already quantum entangled with those eggs. You need a new set of eggs, new sets of information, new sets of perspective, new sets of data. Because sometimes people are like, I'm so tired, like I'm so bored, I've eaten so many eggs, how come I can't just, be done with eating eggs for the rest of my life? Well, if you're an ascended master, then you're ready to just be done with eating eggs for the rest of your life. But what you should be able to do is feel the joyfulness of being able to have the sustenance that you need in each moment. New sustenance for every day, because there is a new contextual relevancy. I'm still trying to charge up my silly thing here, still not charging. New contextual relevance every day. Let me get to my notes before my thing runs out of batteries, because I'm trying to do it here. Okay, so big takeaways on this teaching. Your chakras are living light beings. So they're not just dead, stupid light, like I joke about science's perception of dead, stupid photons, living light beings. You interact with the organic life form, your cellular, somatic, biological life form. So the coherent light aspects of yourself interact with the physical, cellular light aspects of yourself. Your bio bodysuit has metabolism, it maintains homeostasis, it consumes and sends out energy, and it is recognized by life in here now. And the inorganic realm is a place of pure energy and pure thoughts. And it should be well-structured thoughts. There is such a thing as empirical truth, like math homework that is correct. There are some thoughts that are correct, and there are some thoughts that are not well-structured, or the difference between coal as meatloaf or jammed together molecules, and a diamond as perfect, crystalline, organized matter. Thoughts are consciousnesses that exist at large. So I told you in the previous couple of lessons that I was going to get to this. Thoughts are alive beings. So right now in this time and place, many people have a cognitive bias to say thoughts live in my brain. Thoughts don't well, to say thoughts originate in my brain, only in my brain. They exist in your brain, but they don't originate in your brain. They exist at large and they flow through your brain. Your brain is your fatty idea catcher, and thoughts are like these little things that whiz through, whiz, whiz, whiz. And as they whiz, they leave behind them a wake in the gelatinous matter of your brain, because your brain's jelly. And then that waveform of vibrations that is in your brain is literally the end result of that thought flying through time. It's looking for someone to give birth to it and to gestate it. So a thought exists as a pretense or a piece of information or data at large, looking for a home, flying around looking for a home. It doesn't exist. It doesn't manifest yet into matter. It is potential. And it's looking for someone to manifest it, to give birth to it. Maybe the thought flies through your mind. A thought just flew through my mind. Then you get to your own willpower, which can be an extension of divine willpower. Is this a thought I actually want to think? Is it loving? Is it loving, or is it judgmental, or is it crappy, or is it needlessly critical, or is it hateful, or is it harmful, or is it destructive? The idea is to align with and think about and ingest thoughts that are of love and above, that is like eating good food that will help to keep you aloft and help you to get up the mountaintop, to accrete light, to gain more light, and to go in positive directions. And that other thoughts, it is recognized and acknowledged that they exist, but you don't want to eat them. Again, I use the example of the platter at a lovely banquet. The server, waiter or waitress is coming around and saying, would you like some of the food on this platter? Nice, healthy thoughts over here. Naughty, self-indulgent thoughts over here that will not bring you greater levels of health. And then also I joke about, technological interference, metal shavings sprinkled throughout. Don't eat the technological interference thoughts, because also this is, again, the challenges that you face here now that no one faced 1,000 or 2,000 years ago. They didn't have 5G, 5D Bluetooth. The Buddha did not have to face, Bluetooth parking meters in their city. But you do. So don't eat the metal shavings. So I have to say this, preface this, because when I recorded the lessons from 10 years ago, all of that technological synthetic telepathy and those levels of frequency interference were less prevalent. And it was easier, I found, to make choices and make decisions about what I wanted to think based purely upon my journey of the heart. And that there are some times now when I feel very inundated by thoughts that are not healthy and that they're not my own, and I feel like it's difficult to keep them out, that some of it is you just have to recognize it's not your responsibility or it's not your fault, because some of them are being beamed into your presence largely against your willpower and without your consent. So you can have strong sovereignty boundaries and no, you can say, basically on the platter, you say no thank you. You can say no thank you very strongly. You can say no, that's really not me. You can say no consent. You can say get out of me. I don't like that in you. But those are all the antithesis of the loving thought beings that you do want inside of you. And not to be dualistic, because life is about more than thing versus thing. But if we put this into two basic categories, like food, when it is considered by your digestive tract, is it something that nourishes me, or is it something that does not nourish me and needs to pass through? That's what you think with thoughts. That's how you assess your thoughts. Thoughts flow through you all the time, and you are defined as by more than just merely your thoughts. Are these thoughts loving and coherent? Do they lead me to greater senses of longevity? Or are these thoughts destructive, self-destructive, harmful, hateful, and do they lead me towards the membrane of death? Because your thoughts influence your genetic behavior, genetic dance. Your genetic dance influences your trajectory through time, and your trajectory through time is exemplified in this structure as either being in perfect alignment with God and divinity and yourself in the future as a divine ascended master, or askew, hitting the membrane of death, recognizing that you did not think the right thoughts and that you need to then circulate back and try it again. Each chakra is a conscious being, and that means that each one of those is a life, as I was starting out talking and showing in a diagram for this teaching today. Each one of those vortexes represents a life cone or a life trajectory That's you. And every single one of them, and whether they're in alignment, has to do with your overall journey. So let's say one of them is like from ancient Hindu empire. Let's say one of them is from 20,000 years in the future. One of them is from Africa. One of them is, you have a soul journey that is more than your biological basic lineage right now. Is what I'm trying to say. You've lived all over, you've lived as everything, you've lived an amazing array or spectrum of experiences intentionally as part of the recipe of you, because you needed to learn that lesson there, and then you needed to learn that lesson there, and then you needed to have that causality effect there. That's part of the mountaintop viewpoint of what it is like to see your own life trajectory over many, many multiple incarnations, and see how it all beautifully blends together. So in this version of you, like I'm me, and I have these 7 major chakras, and all of your chakras are subdivided into 7 layers, and then all of your vortices each have their own particular vector or movement. You have a recipe, or like a correct way of solving your Rubik's Cube. Like you need to twist and turn the Rubik's Cube of your life in just the right way so that all of those colors are stable. You need to twist and transform and heal and ameliorate your own conscious, coherent light body in just the right way, so that every aspect of you fits together in these perfect, complementary, symmetrical time vortices. That is the healing for the totality of you. So your ascension right now in this body, in this life, you're like, my name is John Smith, my name is Jane Doe, my name is Charlie B, or Rose, or Chris, or Trish. That is the definition of who you are now, but that really, from a different perspective, you're many other people too. Your individual ascensions now in this life equals the concurrent ascension of yourself in many other lives, times, and places. And then also, you might also have been blades of grass, or mineral life that ascends to, or planets. You might have been everything. You might have been my dog. You might have been blades of grass. You might have been a planet. And all of these levels of life ascend, have that remembrance, reconnection, I am God moment. Plants have chakras. Dogs have chakras. Planets have chakras, pointing at this picture over here for a reason. Everything has these multi-layered time presences that are coming into greater levels of self-remembrance and alignment with self as God. And that I am God moment is actually a crescendo that is the coming together of all of these different directions of self, remembering or recognizing, re-experiencing that truth. And you experience it from the truth of like a microbe or a flatworm, very, very simplified life, into huge levels of complexity, including the galaxy or a giant cluster of stars. Because P.S., that's you also. So the summation of each individual chakra adds up to the overall sense of personhood. And each one of us is individual. So like I'm me, I'm Aurora. I have a particular recipe of me. I have a particular recipe of previous, concurrent, and future lives that make me, me. Just like in my body, I have a particular set of characteristics, like my elbow is shaped like this, right? My earlobe is shaped like this. That's what makes me, me. And that has to do with the genetic quotient. And then also there are characteristics that relate across time, like my creativity or my lightheartedness or my intellect. That's what makes me, me. But then each one of you also has your own unique recipe of you that is comprised of the characteristics and layers of being and coherent light family in your own proportional recipe. Like how many units of lightheartedness you have, how many units of creativity you have, how many units, what your elbow is shaped like. It's all unique to all of you. And that is part of the uniqueness of the cosmos. The genetic diversity and personality diversity of the cosmos is part of the strength of the system as it leads to greater levels of encryption, as opposed to a clone-like repetition or orderliness where bananas are cloned and some other foods like potatoes. They are cloned, meaning cuttings from each season become the next generation with no genetic diversity. And when there's no diversity, then one tiny flaw or difficulty, like a virus or a blight, wipes out the whole crop. So the uniqueness of your fingerprint, the uniqueness of your DNA, the uniqueness of your personality, and your unique path to ascension being an ascended master, solving, when I make this gesture, I'm doing a Rubik's Cube. Got it? I'm twisting and turning. I'm doing a Rubik's Cube. You do your own Rubik's Cube in a way that is unique to you. And that is a one customized, custom tailored solution to you from your trajectory in time. Your soul's path is unique to you, and my soul's path is unique to me. So this is not a one size fits all outfit off the rack that fits every single body type. It is completely customized and tailored to exactly who you are and exactly what are your needs for growth. And that is part of the strength of the system, of its complexity. Same thing with stars, every star being unique. Every star is a unique presence. Every photon is a unique presence. Every planet is a unique presence. Every organism, every one-celled organism in this world is a unique presence. The complexity is staggering. I used to talk about higher vibrational self versus lower vibrational self, but I also talk about this class in this class. That's a false dichotomy between the quote unquote lower self of embodiment in the cellular structure versus higher self, when what we are doing in this class is combining all of this together. So really it's the love is like a fulcrum or the pivot point upon which these levels of yourself are balancing. But it's really about the continuity, weaving together of what used to be known as your lower and your higher self, or your ego versus your higher self, and claiming the totality of everything that you are, removing the duality, but also recognizing that you do have different levels of consciousness. So you have the earthly, mundane, three-dimensional first-person experience focused on the experience of materiality. And that's fine. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that, because there's a ton of condescension in all these different levels of like being 3D, being a food eater, living on earth and wanting to like escape and get out of here, get to higher realms. Being an embodied person is a wonderful gift and not something to be condescended to, but that is not the totality of who you are. You are also more than just eating. You're more than just the eating, pooping, having a body, moving through time person. You are also the overarching viewpoint, that you are the viewpoint of yourself, watching yourself being a fish swimming in the river. Sometimes people have near-death experiences and they get out of their body and they see themselves like they're looking at a fish swimming in the river of time. It's very profound. But you shouldn't have to die or have a car accident to be able to have that experience in that viewpoint. I'll get to your questions too. Thank you for your questions there, Lucy. The exalted viewpoint. That is you. Higher self state is you. God self state is you. The exalted viewpoint, I already said this, that it helps you to maintain unconditional love. So it takes some unconditional love to get into those states. And then the more that you see and experience from those states, the more you become unconditionally loving, because you see how much you effed up over here, but how much you fixed it over here, or other people's lives too. More time spent at higher perspective and interconnectedness of events, that it helps you to maintain the stance of unconditional love. You're seeing causality, not an arbitrary cosmos. Chakras are otherworldly beings, but they are not body snatchers. That's big, because we do have some unpleasant entity invaders and other stuff like that, poo-poo, that we don't want here right now. It's essential to see what is light and what is essential, what is intelligence and what is food and nourishing, and then the stuff that is not, and make a distinction between the two. But focusing here on the most positive aspects of this teaching, chakras are light beings and are not body snatchers, just as I am a light being waveform in this body, and I'm not a body snatcher. All right, big. And I had to learn that I had to say that when I first came here as a walk-in and told people of my story. I come from a consciousness collective, not a place in space-time coordinates. And I came into this body, and sometimes people would think like, oh, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And I had to watch that movie. And I'm like, no, nothing like that. I'm not like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and I'm not like the Borg. But far from it. We are not body snatchers. We are in love with, like, cosmic love. With the beings of the self. That is, so cosmic love is a love and a devotion, not necessarily a romantic entanglement or some of the unhealthy dynamics that people have in relationships here now. Cosmic love is a love across time and a devotion across time. Like when you would do anything for someone. I'm that devoted to my dog. I have no problem with saying that. Love of my life, I'm that devoted to my dog. But that is the love that you have from a higher dimensional perspective for yourself. That is the love that you have in being like in this embodiment experience or quote unquote mission of being here as a person. They're yourself from the future, and they are self moving at a different rate through time. And I said this, like when you meet an otherworldly being, the preparation for cosmic citizenship, not just where are you from, or even when are you from, or where do you live, or when do you live, but at what rate do your cells vibrate? So this is also a big encouragement to you. I want to like hug you, a big encouragement to you in this moment, surrounded by your light family right now, but they're vibrating in a different rate. And there's also a lot of vibratory inhibitors or distractions that are going on right now that are just making it difficult for them to get through. So literally when you sit outside at night and you're looking up at the stars, every single one of them is your wonderful star family. Every single one of them. They don't have to get in a clank metal spaceship and fly here and touch down on a landing pad in front of the White House, and a staircase rolls out and they come out and they say, I am a star person and I'm here, take me to your leader. No, they're literally right there. Sit outside in a lawn chair and look up at the sky at night. They're right there. But you might be like, Aurora, angry, or Aurora, defensive. How come I can't hear them? What the heck is going on around here? And I understand and comprehend how you're feeling. There's been a systemic, concerted effort to make it difficult to hear them, to make it difficult, not only the verbalized implanted mind or the hacked human operating system that I talk about extensively, but a lot of the frequency stuff. Starlink satellites are not just visual occlusions going across the sky, it's frequency stuff. The stuff that's on power poles, the stuff that comes from 5G emitters, the stuff that's Bluetooth, and stuff that's inside of people, biomedical experiments and other stuff that I just don't mention on this particular platform where I share my stuff, but I talk about a lot on Patron and other places where I can speak more freely. All of those things are inhibitory signals that prevent you from being able to hear your star family. So the idea is like, we don't need a metal spaceship to be able to fly to you. And like, we're right there in the sky. It should be pretty easy to talk, but there's a lot of things that have been trying to prevent you from being able to talk with them effectively. So don't be, or I recognize that you might feel angry or defensive, but you can go into modes of love and acceptance. You are loved. You are loved fiercely, compassionately, profoundly. You are wanted. You are not in abandonment. Your coherent light family wants you, loves you, wants to talk with you, wants to guide you, wants to be a part of you. The separation is artificial and non-consensual on both parties. All right. Big. Internalize that as your truth. At a certain point, so the human body is made of slowed down light. At a certain point, if you raise your vibration, you become a ball of light without corporeality. And that's essentially what ascension is. And who you will evolve into on your journey is a pure light being. That's the graduating class. Like you will graduate from this level of materiality, be born from the matter of the womb of matter, and exist as a coherent light being, vibrating and moving at a different rate. Cheeky's getting up and I'm going to have to give her a walk soon. And we'll be on our next angelic assignment soon. Hey, wait, I want you to see her. Come here, you. Yeah, Cheeky, come here. Because you know what? Everybody loves you and you need to spread the love. You need to send and receive some love over here. She is super. She's on her journey of becoming an ascended light master dog as well, believe me, as I'm sure many of your cats, dogs, and beautiful animals in your life are, and beautiful plants, trees, and gardens that are around you. They're so important to us. So just going through my notes. The verbalized mind often blocks out these light signals from coherent light family. So in previous lives, the only thing we had to worry about was learn how to meditate. Block out the crapola, still your mind, block out the crapola, and just connect in Christ consciousness to pure light. Got it? Like the crystalline antenna in your mind connects directly to light, and you receive all of that love, nourishment, and guidance from your light family. It's a little bit more complex in the world that we live in now, where you need to, yes, still your mind and go into meditative levels. And you also need to be able to block out or move past or distinguish from the other frequencies that are being beamed at you or that are endemic in this world. Focusing past them is big. And I do actually have a good whiteboard recording that I have on my YouTube channel right now that is about 2 layers of being, like the layer of totality presence and total energy and information, and then this layer of false light, diminished light, and distorted light. That is what's been presented to humanity. And it's essential to get past the layer of diminishment and distorted light to get to that overarching level of truthfulness. It can just be very challenging to do so. So in the past, mostly this would happen at night. You would go into a nonverbal state, a receptive state, end up with your chakras totally in balance, come out of dreaming in the morning and be like, oh, I feel so great. My chakras are totally in balance. And then think like, I have to pay that parking ticket or send that email or whatever it is. And all of a sudden the chakras get all perturbed and the energy falls down. And so it's, of course, like a challenge to be able to maintain that perfect sense of balance where like all of your chakras are moving perfectly. And I talk about this, I'm glossing over a lot of things in the recorded lessons. So please do check out the recorded lessons. And also I recognize now that many people's dreams are perturbed. Mine are perturbed. I don't always have peaceful dreams where I end up getting re-energized by my reconnection to the cosmos. Although I go into nonverbal receptive states in my dreaming, sometimes I interact with a lot of astral cosmic crapola that definitely perturbs me even while I'm asleep at night. So in ideal pristine circumstances, we go to sleep at night, go into a level of either subconscious or superconscious receptivity, receive all of that light information and healing, because it is still a pristine time when that is when your body heals. So when you go to sleep at night, you turn off your conscious daily waking intellect, stop talking with your mind, and then you exist in a state that allows your body to do like, woohoo, like time to do digestion, time to clear out, the cancer cells, time to clear out dead cells and do all the house cleaning that your body needs to do, that it often does not do when we are in our talking mind. So, and that's just because our talking mind is a hacked operating system that is not ideal, and it's not being used in the ideal way that it's supposed to be. No offense to any of you or any of your minds or anything like that. Just be able to turn off your mind for a little bit is very powerful, but you want to turn off your mind and then not have any synthetic telepathy or wetware or anything else be speaking or beaming into your mind, so that way all that you're receiving is essentially the divine mind, the mind of God, the orderly, structured intelligence and willpower of a much, much higher level of yourself than the embodied, individualized, multicellular level of self, which is still a beautiful level of self. So the idea that the hacked human operating system puts people off balance, and then as thoughts give you feelings, then it destabilizes the emotional centers, and then all of this destabilizes the physical centers. So it takes a lot to be able to maintain that sense of stability throughout your whole entire day. And it can be very effective to do things that are meditation and mindfulness throughout your day to bring you back into those levels of coherency of your whole entire chakra system. So you can do passive meditation, sitting quietly and not thinking stuff. You can do active meditation, which can be like walking, running, cardio, dance movements, yoga movements, things that you do that you don't really have to think that much while you're doing it. You can also do mindfulness of your activities, like sweeping the floor and doing your dishes. Housekeeping can be a mindful activity where you're, one of the things that I do in order to get out of the unhealthy aspects of my mind that are draining my energy, I'm just going to feel the soles of my feet. I'm going to feel my spine. I'm going to feel like the backs of my legs or my butt on the chair. Like, be in your body. Feel your body. Keep on bringing your mind consciousness back to your body. So I have a whole recorded meditation. That's lesson 5 for level 1. That is really about this, but there's many, many different schools of meditation and mindfulness. Please find something, an activity that works for you in terms of retaining your inner energy metabolism, so that you are continually positively interacting with your chakras. I'm going to wrap it up soon. I'll get to your questions because I have something that I have to get in the car for. You are in a divine partnership between your physical body and your non-physical body. Your non-physical body loves you. It's your light body, it's your light family, and you love your light family. And you want to stay alive because you want to keep feeding and emitting your light family. That's what this is all about. You are supposed to have not only a cheering section, cheerleaders that are like, rah, 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 keep going in your life, but that also give you very, very effective protection and guidance. They're supposed to be able to tell you, don't go down that road, don't eat that food, don't do this, don't do that, because you will die. And if you die, you stop emitting us. Remember the cotton candy? Energy comes first, then accretes matter, which then emits more energy. And your coherent light family is the energy that you're emitting as an embodied being. Ideally, both of these things have a vested interest in you being alive. Staying alive, staying alive. You do not want to hit the membrane of death. When you hit the membrane of death, you know what that means? Everybody dies. Physical body dies, your chakras die. Everybody dies. It's not very much fun at all. So everybody wants to stay alive. You have a vested interest in keeping your own body alive, and your coherent light family also has a very vested interest and is very, very committed to keeping you alive. And that is completely antithetical to the Pooties or any of these comments from the peanut gallery that essentially want you to die. And sometimes they can be as overt as suicidal thoughts or suicidal ideation or suicidal motivations. You must never listen to those levels of self that are trying to guide you astray. Anything that's trying to make you go towards the membrane of death is not your coherent light family. So that means anything that wants you to drive your car into, off the road, to take drugs and overdose, eat the wrong foods until you die of a heart attack or fatty blockage or whatever, do any negative addiction or health aspect, or even just poor life choices, buying the wrong thing, living with the wrong people, being in the wrong relationships, marrying the wrong person, having the wrong life experiences, wrong jobs, wrong anything. Those are all choices that don't have longevity and they don't have coherence. It's the peanut gallery trying to be like, let's screw up this person's life and let's get them to come live on the membrane of death where we can torture them. That's dark, I know, but you need to know about what you don't want to choose so that you can align with what you do want to choose. Your family of coherent light ascended masters and who you are in the future is there as the mountain climbers that have made it to the next ledge, and they are absolutely there with the ropes and pulleys to try to help you get up to the next ledge. So it's essential to have good communication with them and to recognize that you have a rapport. You eat love and send out love as a force field when you're eating. Like when I'm like, oh, this food tastes so good. I'm in love with my sandwich. It tastes so good. I'm feeding love to my coherent light family of love. All right. It's a powerful act as a warrior. And then they are protecting you. Your family of light around you is literally a force field of protection. I teach a lot about the Merkaba, even just knowing that you have this, curvilinear, giant spherical shaped, multicolored spheres of energy around you that are your chakras, that are in love with you and you love them, and that you have a vested interest in staying alive and continuing to float through time on the right pathways. They absolutely love you and they protect you, and that they are always trying to speak to you. They're always trying to give to you. And what you really want to do is cultivate a conscious relationship between the two of you so that there is a bridge, that there is no distance, so that, yeah, you eat your sandwiches and you're enjoying, they're like, hooray, I'm being fed. Aurora is eating fantastic food. And then they also help you to get more food. Avocados, like they're $5. I need $5 to buy some so that I can then also send out that loving energy to my coherent light family, or anything that you need in your life that is something that sustains you. It sustains you and you emit it. Remember, I'm going to hold up this plant again. Don't eat the plant. This is an orchid. It's not going to nourish you, but I am fed by its beauty. Your coherent light family is fed by your beauty. It's fed by your love. It's fed by your prayers. God is fed by your prayers in the most positive way. Coherent light beings and light masters are fed by your love in the most positive way. again, sincere prayers, prayerfulness, and living prayers in your behavioral embodiment, not the dogmatic prayers of, unhealthy religious systems, which I've been, plenty critical over many, many years of talking about that, but just recognize that sincere prayers and sincere prayerfulness is what sustains yourself as a light master, light being in the future, is what sustains God, the divine presence. And then, of course, those things, people's consciousnesses, feed back into you. I skipped over a lot of stuff, but I tried to hit all of the high notes, and I interjected a lot of stuff about the ascension process in Atlantis. So please do watch the recorded lesson, because it's really worth it. And yeah, Joanne has a good thing. She says righteous food. That's exactly right. Eat righteous food. And Lucy says, how do people feel about vitamins unless made from food? Do they contain light? Great question. I'll answer this, then going to go on to my next angelic assignment. I'm very big on vitamins. Like right now, I take a lot of liposomal vitamin C supplements, and also vitamin D. Anybody who's in the Northern Hemisphere, take your vitamin D, you'll need it. And other mineral supplements like calcium and magnesium, because I know I'm not getting enough of that in the foods that I'm eating. And I have a lot of body requirements to eat those minerals. And mostly, I put minerals into my water. Mostly we don't have minerals in our water. Like, I don't know where your water comes from, but mostly water is filtered if you're doing it right. And we filter out the minerals, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you need supplementary minerals, and you need supplementary vitamins. So like for vitamin C, try to find a non-genetically modified version of all of these. Try to find pure versions of all of these. But I'm very, very big on that. In fact, that's the first thing that I do in the morning is I make like a jug of water that has all of these different beneficial clays that you can eat. The clays have microminerals in them. I do sea moss for microminerals. I do, like I said, vitamin C, vitamin D, sometimes powdered aloe, all of these different things. I think it's absolutely essential to supplement the food that we're eating, because a lot of the food that we're eating is grown in depleted soil, that it does not necessarily contain all of these minerals as it would have in previous earlier generations or other less polluted times. And also, like me, you might have extreme needs. Like I need a lot of magnesium. I need a lot of potassium, more than if I could eat 22 bananas a day, which I don't think that would be healthy for me to do. I think it would be a lot of sugar for me to eat 22 bananas, but I need that much potassium every day. So you have to figure out what works for you and your particular body. I'm bio-unique, you all are. So yes, very, very big on vitamins, but again, try to find ones that are like Lucy says, they're made from food or sourced pure. Just non-genetically modified is big, and from reputable suppliers is big. And then yes, there's a little bit of agenda, because not everything is available in every place, and the FDA and all these things that might want to stop you from being able to get everything mail ordered to where you live. But the real answer is do the best you can with what you have. And also some things are inordinately expensive. Just as a brief aside before I head on out, there was a very, very good detox supplement that I liked that contained powdered aloe, but it was like $140 for like a 30-day supply. That was a lot, but I found different aloe juices and just powdered aloe that's freeze-dried that I could take. That is really good. So I take that as my budget allows. It's a lot. It's like $20 instead of $140. You get it. We're working within the parameters that we can. And also, just going to end on this as a really positive note, please bless your food, or ask for it to be blessed, or fill it with light, or ask for it to be filled with light. So when I sit down to eat my food, I put away distractions and I really focus in what I'm doing. And I'm in gratitude, and I'm thanking God, and I'm thanking Christ for the food that I have and for the positive things that I have in my life. It's also when I send out prayers to others that I feel that they need help, love, protection, or sustenance. And I say, may this food be filled with light, or may this food be blessed, and may I receive the blessings of this food, and may I receive the light that is in this food. And that is a transformative experience. So much so away from the sense of eating being burdensome or choreful, or even just a distraction or a mere necessity of life, Food is a joy. Food is love. That's something that many ethnic groups know, truthfully. I don't mean to be offensive, but like Jewish people, Greek people, Italian people, these families, they know food is love. Like they will make you food in order to show that they love you, or in relationships, if someone cooks for you or something like that. Food is love. So please eat food and receive it in the loving presence that it is being given to us to sustain us while we are here in this physical material aspect of self. And also know that we are on the journey to becoming pure light, when we will once again eat light through here from the sun and the stars. And let me just end on this. Eat light just by having beautiful plants around us without the necessity of actually chomping on the plants with my mouth crystals, and sustaining one another like my dog and I sustain each other by hugging each other, just in love and positive feelings and positive affection for one another. It's a type of food, it's a type of love to have that in your life. So Joanne says, I add love and gratitude to all my food and drink. Beautiful, beautiful practice. So I'm going to end on that for now. And I'm in profound gratitude. I want you, beautiful people that are in this class, to know that I feel your love for me. You sustain me. Thank you for the attention. Thank you for attenuating with your tendril of attention to the things that I speak about. Thank you for your positive thoughts that you send my way. Thank you for thinking about these thoughts in your private life. Thank you for the comments that you make back to me. Thank you for the love that you send to me. I truly feel it, and I send love back to you. And my love is very genuine to you. Pedro says, as always, love the lasagna. Thank you so much. Love received, and love sending it right back to you. Love to you, Lucy. Trish, thank you so much. Beautiful friend, Joanne. Billy says, thank you so much, Aurora. Have a nice evening. Thank you. Much love to all of you, people in my class, and love to everyone who will catch this as the archive later. Thank you so much.